Looking back, would you say that you had a happy childhood?
I would say that, certainly, decidedly.
You often characterize your fascination with travel and geography as having a very important link with your philosophical thought. Can you tell us a little bit about how that is so?
Something that struck me, thinking back on an early memory, was the tension between travel lust on the one hand, wanderlust, and on the other hand, homesickness. There is in this a link with an experience I've had a number of times, the thrill of being away somewhere, maybe outside some foreign city, city that I'm visiting for a while, so that I have opportunity to go out and prowl the surroundings, and on foot, speculating on where this road that is going to end up. It'll be a road that, as far as I can figure it out, ought to be heading back into the town that I'm by then somewhat familiar with. Just where is it going to come out? And the thrill of following that and seeing where it comes out. The strange way home. And I've had this also in relation to my own hometown of Akron, in dreams more than once, of getting back after many years away, when there's been a lot of further urban development and unfamiliar streets. But here's one that's certainly heading right back, pretty much in the direction of where I grew up, and just where is that going to come out? And it struck me that science itself, certainly philosophy, certainly my interest in foundations of mathematics, has very much the same structure, the strange way home. In a case of foundations of mathematics, you're finding in the familiar elements of logic or set theory a basis from which, by a strange way, well, that, I should say, that part is not familiar, the way arithmetic is, and you're building up the foundation, you're building up arithmetic step by step through constructions from this unfamiliar beginning in set theory. And again, I think there's very much the same, in my case anyway, and perhaps in general in the reductionist trend in philosophy, and the foundationalism, the strange way home, building up from the axiomatic beginnings.
Perhaps, Professor Quine, this is a good point to consider your approach to philosophy. What do you remember as your earliest philosophical thought or philosophical thoughts?
Well, there are two occasions that come back to me in retrospect. The first, surely, was and so characteristically, I think, this must be the experience of many professional philosophers as a first move, namely my doubts about the family religion. That had never been oppressive. My brother and I were sent to Sunday school quite regularly, church only rather rarely. My father never went to church except on rare occasions to humor my mother. My mother wasn't, in spite of her regarding herself as religious, wasn't a regular churchgoer either, although she became a deaconess of our congregational church in later years. It's just a sort of charity offices. But even so, I, of course, had been taught the basic tenets of Christian religion, and including afterlife. And all this began to seem rather implausible as I reached, I don't know what age, 10 maybe? Anyway, I had these doubts, which worried me at first because it's supposed to be sinful to doubt these things. And then I had the thought that if it's all just empty legend, so is the threat of eternal punishment for the sin. And so I could be single-mindedly, well, I won't say agnostic, single-mindedly atheist from there on in. So there's my first. That was philosophical, at least the thought perhaps about there being no threat of punishment if it's punishment for disbelieving in something that isn't true, including the threat itself. Well, the later one that occurs to me, and this ties in more specifically, I think, with my subsequent views. When I become good friends with, among other schoolmates, with two little Jewish boys. One of them was very much a stamp collector, and it bothered me. There was a general mild atmosphere of anti-Semitism surrounding, well, in Akron and touching my father perhaps a bit, although he was certainly always kind to Jews as far as you contact with them. But I thought, what a pity that these boys are Jews. And then here came the philosophical thought, why should it be unfortunate that they're Jews? Why isn't it just so much more to the credit of Jews? And that, as I think back, is the maybe the wellspring of my extensionalism, and that no class is there's nothing more to a class than its members.
Your recollections of your earliest philosophical thoughts indicate an early skepticism about the traditionally held beliefs that you found yourself surrounded with. Now, everyone, in a sense, has doubts about what they believe, about what they're told, about why they're here, and so on. Now, some people would have it, or their thoughts are, that philosophy should in some way answer these questions, tell us what the meaning of life is, why we are here, and so on. Others may regard philosophy as somehow the job for philosophy is to clarify so that you can consider your doubts more clearly, consider your beliefs more clearly. Which or what do you regard as philosophy's role?
I think my view would be somewhere in between. I'm confident that even from the very beginning there, with my early doubts about religion, that my budding philosophical curiosity was not in hope of finding comfort or reassurance, but curiosity, and getting down to the basics about reality, the basics about the world, the nature of the universe.
To the layman, much of philosophy seems obscure and impenetrable and often technical. And this would be true of much of your own work in symbolic logic and mathematical logic. Now, Bertrand Russell once said that the essential vision of a great philosopher is usually clear and simple. Now, Isaiah Berlin agreed with Russell in that score and says, and I'm paraphrasing, that the elaboration and the technicality comes in to defend the conception against objections and so on. So in other words, that argument and logical power are brought in as a matter of attack and defense to argue against anyone who disagrees, as it were, whether they're real or imaginary. Would you agree with this, that essentially the great philosophers, that the essential ideas are simple?
Well, it's hard to say. I think of Kant. I think the essential idea there and in other cases is hard to convey to the layman who hasn't done some philosophical worrying. The layman who's going to be a staunch, naive realist, I expect finds it difficult to put himself in the state of mind where you're wondering about the reality of things. Whether you're waking or dreaming, that's something that is easy for the layman to catch. But then when it comes to something like idealism versus physical realism, I think it takes some acclimatizing.
Mm-hmm.